Appears that following Israel's strikes in Qatar last week, a lot of the Arab world is now in a big tumult. The Qataris, it appears, are hosting an emergency Arab Islamic Summit in Doha to effectively bring all the heads of the Arab crime families all around one table to discuss what they're going to do about Israel. They all were hoping that the Iranians would deal Israel the blow that they've all been waiting for all of this time since 1948. And alas, the Iranians have been certainly set back. I wouldn't say necessarily defeated, but certainly set back in a very serious way. Iran, Syria, Lebanon, Yemen, Gaza did not deliver the results the Arab world was hoping for. And now Qatar is calling all of the Arab countries together to discuss what are they going to do about Israel. Now, what's very interesting is that for years, everyone told us, and we still hear some voices still making their way through telling us, no, the Saudis, they don't really like Iran and they don't like Qatar. They don't all get along. They all hate each other more than they hate us, right? We all remember these talking points. Like I said, some of them still come out, but less, much less than they used to be. Well, let's look at this tweet here. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi met with Qatar's Prime Minister Mohammed Al Thani on the sidelines of the preparatory ministerial meeting for the Emergency Arab Islamic Summit in Doha. And look at how nicely they sit there, get along. Why not? Why not? Trying to figure out, okay, you know what, we have our own problems, but we have to take care of this Israel problem first. So all of these ridiculous kind of ideas, no, the Saudis like us, the Emiratis like us, and they don't really get along, and we're going to bring peace to the region. I'm sorry to inform you all, the only peace will come when Israel demolishes all of these Arabs that they are unifying together. They say, Ki ish echad belev echad. Right, all the people that will all be united as one with this one goal in mind. They all hate each other, but what do they hate more than each other? Israel and the Jews. And we have this story. So now Egypt is trying to, again, Iran has been pushed to the side. Egypt is trying to take the lead role. Egypt, by the way, American ally, a country that gets a ton of money from the United States. Maybe they don't get as much as Israel, but the money that they get is much more meaningful to them. It's a much bigger percentage of their GDP than the money that Israel gets from the United States. So keep that in mind. Egypt, a country that continues today to get money from the United States. Egypt revives NATO-style Arab force plan. We know what that means, right? That if Israel dares to do anything against Arab countries that finance terrorism and harbor terrorists, Egypt wants to lead the force to attack Israel and force them into a weak position. Of course, and this will, I'm sure, as they say here, be a main topic of discussion at this Arab Islamic Summit. The Arab Islamic Summit, as Trump and a lot of Hasbara grifters are still trying to push these Abraham Accords fantasies upon us, this is what's going on. A summit amongst Arab and or Islamic countries to discuss how to defeat the Jews. Yeah. Rapid reaction force. Right. 20,000 Egyptian troops, 4-star officers in command. This is what they're focused with. This is what they want. Okay. So this is who we're dealing with. This is the situation in which we now find ourselves. All all of this like charade. We have peace with Egypt. Yeah, look at you. This is your peace with Egypt. Thank you, Menachem Begin. The right still considers him to be a good prime minister in our history. Why? Because he was right wing, so automatically he's good. Okay. Now, the right has let us down. Like I just said, Menachem Begin failed. So it's time to take back the Sinai. Let's just say that. If this is what Egypt is planning to do, and we see this is mainstream stories, if this is what Egypt's planning to do, it is time to take back the Sinai today. Don't wait until they've amassed all of these soldiers and weapons against Israel in the Sinai. It's time to take the Sinai now. This is what Egypt wants to do. This must be Israel's reaction. Okay. Now that's on the military front. So, our Arab and Islamic neighbors are calling together a summit. Right? They're all banding together. Now, this should require a diplomatic action from Israel. Not that that would be sufficient, but Israel must start thinking in these terms. Now, luckily for us, again, from a source that we may not have expected, comes Yair Lapid. One of, if not the main opposition leader on the left. Democracy should leave UN and form alternative body. True. True. Very interesting proposal. Opposition Yair Lapid writes that the United Nations is a failed institution dominated by authoritarian states. True. Authoritarian states, by the way, that will be heavily represented in this Arab Islamic Summit. He argues that the UN has been hijacked by authoritarian regimes. Out of 193 member states, only 25 are considered full democracies, according to The Economist. We did a little analysis afterwards. It's really more than 25, but still, certainly more than half. More than half are countries like this: Egypt, Qatar, the UAE, Iran, Saudi Arabia, all of these kinds of countries. As a remedy, the Yesh Atid party leader, Yair Lapid, calls for democracies to leave the UN and form a new bloc, which he dubs DAWN, the Democratic Alliance for World Nations. This is linked to what Lapid calls the UN's obsessive bias against the Jewish state. Yes, that's true. He points to numbers that underscore his case. Israel, representing just 0.1% of the world's population, has been the target of more than 60% of the UN's condemnatory resolutions over the past decade. So clearly, Yair Lapid, certainly no right-wing, far-right nationalist, he has identified that the UN is an anti-Israeli organization. And instead of simply leaving the UN, he comes along with a proposal that does something very interesting. It isolates almost all of our enemies outside of what would be a new global body. Smart. This is a smart proposal. And of course, well, maybe for appearance's sake, I mean, I'm sure he means it, but Lapid stresses his critique is not rooted in blind defense of Israel's government. I'm the last person to claim Israel's perfect or mistake-free. Right? I don't know if this continues. No. Okay. But that's the point. See, because this, at least the spirit of it, we haven't gotten the details yet, but the spirit of it is politics last and Israel first. Good. Good. That's what we like to see. That's what we like to see. Now, I asked ChatGPT to come up with a list of what it could, thinking likely qualifying countries under Lapid's proposal. Not guaranteed. Could be more, could be less. But let's just take a look at the countries here. United States, Canada, United Kingdom, Germany, France, Italy, Spain. I'm not going to go through all of them. It seems like almost every European country. Asia Pacific, Japan, South Korea, Taiwan, Australia, New Zealand. They include India. They include Indonesia. I'm sure shouldn't make this list, but okay. But notice, no China, no North Korea. None of these kinds of hostile countries. Middle East, Israel, alone. Latin America, and some African countries. Okay, we can argue whether they should be there or not. But notice, every Arab country is out, right? Almost every one of these African countries, and probably these will be out as well. But notice, this is now a more exclusive entity. Certainly by no measure super pro-Israel. Yeah, there are some countries here that are not pro-Israel. But what it does is that it now isolates all of these real enemy countries. All of these Arab NATO, Arab Summit meeting countries, right? Sticks them up. And their big supporters, Russia, China, all on the outside looking in. Does this solve all of Israel's problems? Of course not. But no single move will solve all of Israel's problems. But does this move put us in a much better diplomatic position than we were before? Absolutely it does. No question. So we see a move like this. Now you would expect all of the nationalist parties, entities would come and say, Yair Lapid, congratulations, this is a great proposal. Let's do it. Nothing. Crickets. And why would that be? Because you know what it sounds like? You know what it looks like? Partisan politics at the expense of Israel. That's what it looks like. Why would... No one is saying here that Lapid should be Israel's prime minister. We're not saying that. But explain why this proposal would not benefit Israel. Even if we might look and say, oh, well, you know, he's really doing it from a liberal left-wing place. Why does that matter? Why does it matter what his intention is? Even if his intention is not to exclude the Arab countries. But that's what's functionally happening. We just brought up Qatar, how much damage they're doing, even with their very, civilized facade that they have. No, we're businessmen. We're not violent savages like Arabs in Syria are. But functionally, we know what they are. And this would exclude them. This would exclude the UAE and Saudi Arabia, all of them. It would stick them all on the outside looking in. This is a good proposal. And sadly, right-wing nationalists are busy playing politics as usual. Instead of being Israel first. This is an Israel first proposal. It is. And it's smart. And here's another interesting point. Imagine if Ben Gvir proposed this. Imagine if Smotrich proposed it. You know what we would hear most likely? Sadly, probably from the left, because they play politics too. I'm not saying that, the left is Israel first and the right plays politics. No, they all play politics. But I'm talking about this specific moment in time, this specific proposal. If the right would have proposed this, you know what we would hear? Oh, it's because they're just racist. They want to keep all these non-white countries out of the world discussion. But because it's being proposed by Lapid, we have an opportunity now, under the guise of, hey, this is a left-wing proposal. We could actually almost, in a way, if you want to call it this, we can almost sneak through something that may otherwise be accused of racism. We can sneak this through. This is a golden opportunity. And it's not even dismissed. It's ignored. Why would we ignore this proposal? The Arabs, here you go. This is the summation, and it's a very sad and unfortunate summation. The Arabs are burying their differences in this Arab Islamic Summit. Like we said earlier, it's true. Iran has problems with Saudi Arabia, and they have problems with Qatar and all these countries with the Sunni Shia business. And yet they're able to at least here, hopefully not moving forward. We don't want our enemies united, but Here, they are uniting enough to sit down and come together. We, as a very small country, a relatively small group of people, we cannot get past our differences and look at a proposal, just a singular proposal, and say, this is good. Unless someone can come and explain to me why this is bad. Why it would be bad to have a new UN type body that excludes all of our Arab enemies, and plenty of enemies maybe in Africa as well. Why this would not be a good thing? Why wouldn't it be good? So I would strongly recommend that we start to get past petty politics and look at least at proposals that make sense, proposals that are Israel first, and say, good, yes, we support this, we promote this, and we want to empower people like Yair Lapid to push forward proposals that put us as a nation in a stronger position than we were in before. A lot of times the calls for unity I find to be very cheap and not serious. But when it comes to proposals like this, unity is required. Setting aside petty differences is required. There can be great proposals from both sides of the aisle. There can be foolish proposals even from the strongest elements on the right. If we want to put our country forward, we need to start putting the country first. We need to start putting Israel first. I maybe stand alone here, but I want to thank Yair Lapid and congratulate him on proposing something that is actually smart and nationalist and putting the country before petty politics. And I strongly hope that the right starts doing the same thing, and not only to acknowledge and embrace Yair Lapid, but to start coming up with some proposals like this on their own and start putting Israel first where it belongs.